In this episode of the Jonnie Jensen Show, we talk about how men, over 40s men, rebuild their lives, and in particular, as I break the internet with the Ant McPartlin trophy. Let's go. Welcome to the Jonnie Jensen Show, where modern dads discover how to create the true riches, relationships and results they deserve. Get your high value man blueprint and join our community at highvaluemanproject.com. Let's go. Hello men, welcome to the Jonnie Jensen Show. I am Jonnie Jensen and I am the creator, the founder and head coach at the High Value Man Project. It's great to have you here, whether you're on the podcast listening or whether you're watching the live or even catching this on YouTube sometime later. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. As you watch and listen, please be sure to share this. Like it wherever you are. If you leave a comment on Spotify or Apple, it is incredibly helpful. And of course, if you're on YouTube, then hit the subscribe button and the little bell will give you notifications of when we go live or when there's a new video for you to watch. This episode is exciting. It's a lot of fun. I have seemingly, to some degree, broken the internet in the last 24 hours after having the audacity to suggest that there could be such thing as the Ant McPartlin trophy to celebrate men rebuilding their lives. And in particular, what has really upset mainly women is suggesting that he has upgraded his ex. And so we're going to unpack that today. And the most important part of it is to realise that more than anything, this was the primary agenda was to acknowledge another man inside of the High Value Man Project who has told me this week that him and his new partner are moving in together just before Christmas. He is delightfully happy in spite of his ex still gunning for him, still making it difficult to see his girls, still telling people in their community all the things that she believes he did, which I'll let you decide, but fundamentally from my perspective, a complete bunch of lies. And so we were celebrating this, and because if you're gonna get into a new relationship, it has to be an upgrade, right? Who would have a new relationship unless your wife's been unless you've been widowed or something like that? But why would you come out of one relationship and go into another that was worst or at best equal? You just wouldn't. You'd go for an upgrade. And I think we'll touch on some of the points inside of this subject as we get going. If you're listening to this from a different country in the world, Ant McPartlin is a UK TV presenter, and he's a double act with his main pal Declan. Ant and Dec, they're called. They've been on British TV since a kids TV program when I was at school. I'm now 50. That was when I was about 15. So we're talking about some sort of 35 years. These two win like the National TV Award like every year for the last 11, 12, however many years. They're insanely successful. They're most likely millionaires multi times over. And guess what? They are imperfect human beings. And I don't feel like I have to be careful here because ultimately there is nothing wrong, and as I tried last night to respond to some of the comments, interestingly, I've got to remind myself of all the things to mention in this. Very few men commenting. And that's another part of this, is that men feel absolutely, I don't know about terrified. I think there is a degree to which men won't respond or take part in these conversations online because of the absolute level that women wade in. And let me be clear, actually, there are some women on the conversation who've come at it in a bit of a softer way, and some who've been outright supportive. First and foremost, right, let's talk about, let me write a note of this. Men fearing speaking. Okay, that's going to go on there. In particular, right, as I tried to say in the first response, let me back up. The reason it's called the Ant McPartlin trophy is he had a first wife. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of this. And what I do know has been from, what do they call it? Tabloid newspapers, gossip, stuff on the internet. It's not like I've gone out and bought the magazine or even searched up the subject. I have done a little bit of background research for myself to say, but even then, what I knew of it when I saw it happening, and what did happen? Well, their marriage ended quite publicly. He had some level of alcohol addiction, drug addiction. He's a mega star in the UK at least. And in amongst that, him and his wife's first relationship fell apart. Apparently there was some stresses and strains around their ability to have children. They'd been together quite a long time, and publicly at least, you might say that his behaviour was not okay. Whether he cheated on her or not, I don't know. Someone has suggested that. In particular, some women have had issue with me suggesting that this is the traits of a high value man. Well, clearly it's not. But what too many people fail to appreciate or respect is that inside of a relationship breakdown, there are two people likely struggling intensely. And that could be, Bob and Sue, and Rita too. Bob and Sue, from who work in Tesco's and drive a lorry, right? They could be having a similar relationship challenges as they try and conceive, as they try and manage their finances, as they try and have fun and build their careers. Like, it's not about being a millionaire or in the public limelight. It's what happens when a relationship starts to suffer. What isn't high value, right, is how people struggle in those situations. And let's be clear, women can be high value as well. The proposition around the high value man is about men realizing what it takes to create the life they desire, the life they deserve, the life they want to be in rather than one they feel stuck in. And it's too often when we live by a set of low values, low grade life, that we end up experiencing everything going wrong. Our relationship deteriorating, our finances in trouble, our business struggling. And commonly, it can happen at any time in life, but it does seem to happen to a lot of men when we hit our 40s. There are many reasons for that, and we can talk about that in another show. Be sure to subscribe and come and join the High Value Man Project at highvaluemanproject.com/group. You can unpack and address all these things inside of there, but it commonly happens inside of relationships where the stresses and strains reach a point where people then decide they're going to use a distraction tactic to help them put up with what they're going through. Doesn't make it right or wrong. Okay? Taking drugs, gambling, watching too much porn, having an affair. No one's saying these are high value habits or actions, but what they are is that they're the exact antithesis. They are low value, quite often reactions to a low value way of life. Those people will be having a struggle. Those people will be having poor communication. They won't be addressing the thoughts that are going through their mind. Should we carry on here? How will I stay with you if we can't have children? Do I even like this person anymore? What am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? I'm in the flipping public limelight every day. How am I going to manage leaving this person, or how are we going to put this back together? I'm not even sure I want to be with her. But I do love her. I don't know her. Like, a whole load of stuff goes on that suddenly then leads to people breaking. Whether it's a man having an affair or a woman having an affair, and we're not talking about that here, although apparently there was some infidelity, most people, unless they're a complete arsehole, like an absolute slapper or a complete player, if those people are just outwardly going out and shagging around for the sake of it and don't really care about their partner, then that's a particular type of person, not a good type of person. More common, though, is someone will go and do those things when they are deeply unhappy, when they are deeply troubled. So we're actually getting into way deeper a topic here than was ever the intention. The intention from this was that Ant McPartlin has seemingly gone through a load of garbage, a load of crap, had a split up with his missus. That's been very public and dragged through the courts, and she's been very vocal to whatever degree. Maybe the media, dragged it all up, but what he was and how bad he was and what she deserved, and maybe she did deserve it in terms of a fair split after that. But from what I briefly touched upon, it wasn't the nicest trip through court at part of their divorce. He has then gone on to meet someone else. Did he meet her before? Did he meet her after? You can decide that yourself. And they seem to be very, very happy. She is rather attractive, and I think that is part of the reason why some people have got particularly upset about me calling it an upgrade. On that point, I know I am an upgrade in my current relationship. It prides me to be an upgrade. I work hard to make sure that I honour that consistently, not because she deserves it or she needs it, because that's who I want to be for myself. That's the high value position I want to be for myself. In previous chapters of my life, I haven't always handled things the way I could actually have done so, the way I can see I should have done so back then and now. It's taken me a lot to learn that. It's taken me going through a fiery chapter, a brutal, quite hellish chapter, to learn a lot about myself. So that I could be a better man, so that I could actually create something called the High Value Man Project and actually look to live that myself. Do I expect to trip up from time to time? Yeah, absolutely. But if you want to be really, really steadfast to this thing called the high value man, being all about we are of the highest value and we will only ever do good, then that's nonsense. And it's funny because when you rattle women about this, and it's not all women, it's particular women who have taken perhaps a more feminist position on things. Maybe they've been through a tough breakup themselves. Maybe they're just pissed off with the way the world hasn't served women for however many hundreds or even thousands of years. But here we are in 2024. And you can't just enter a conversation going toxic masculinity, misogyny, patriarchy. You just can't do that because it completely, you just use it as a sledgehammer to wipe out the other side of the conversation. And that's actually why many men will avoid these conversations. Many men will avoid stepping up for themselves first and foremost. Because if they do, it will appear like they shouldn't have spoken out of turn, that they're against women if they dare have a view or an opinion. And obviously there's whatever segments of people. There are good men, shit men, weak men, honourable men, dishonourable men, in the exact same way that there are those same chapters of women. There are many women who fail very badly at being a decent human being, at being a balanced and respectful person, someone who takes responsibility on the back end of a relationship breaking down, let alone before we start wandering into the subject of divorce and family court, which actually was the point in which this original position was taken. The Ant McPartlin trophy was a humorous, and by the way, like if I'd called it the Mike Thomas Award, right? I don't even know there is a Mike Thomas. Maybe there is. I'm sure there's loads of Mike Thomases. Some bloke who's been a brilliant man and never said anything mean to anybody, never put a toe out of line, but it wouldn't even apply because what was he been divorced and then gone and married someone who was a lower grade version of his ex? Like first of all, it wouldn't be funny. Second of all, no one would know who the hell I was talking about. And so there's a part of this which is also about bloody hell, people. If we can't have a bit of fun, then life is an utter misery. If we can't go around without people choosing to take offence over the smallest possible thing, then we run the distinct risk of people not being able to say anything, really, to have a laugh about anything. You know, humour, by the very nature of it tickling people's conscience, it's on the edge. It has to be in order for it to be funny. And that doesn't mean it can be racist, sexist, any kind of ist. But even then, if you watch a lot of stand-up, as I try to, as I enjoy watching, then there's a lot of very funny people who will, from a conscientious point of view, having these days to say, if you can't distinguish between me as a person and me standing here on stage, delivering a show, then why are you even here? Like, what did you come here to watch? Like, you're kind of missing the point. And I don't know where I am about, people like Roy Chubby Brown or people that are deeply offensive, because that in itself probably isn't funny, really. But this is a completely different topic. The primary mission, let's call it perspective, the primary position from the post was to acknowledge there's been 3 men in particular this year who, and listen, not everybody inside the High Value Man Project are divorced men. This is about men creating the life that they deserve. Sitting there fed up and frustrated, wondering, is this as good as it gets? Falling into a place of possibly depression, possibly some level of addiction or distraction habits that are going to ultimately be destructive in their life. Rather than communicating with their partner, dealing with the stresses and struggles in their relationship, deciding if they should repair it or whether they should break up, and being able to do that in a structured manner where they can rebuild and be the best version of them as a couple ever, or break up and co-parent effectively and move on and meet someone else and be blissfully happy. Those are both high value paths. And the man that was a complete dick before, that starts to adjust and take on this way of life, yes, they can be a high value man. This isn't about, I can't get the word. It's not making people suffer for their past for their whole lives. One of the key elements of courage, which is the second of the 3 C's in the 3XC formula for living, is taking responsibility, is looking, rather than you blaming everybody else for where your life is at, is looking for what you can be responsible for. Now, I dare say Ant McPartlin could have taken a lot more responsibility in his first marriage by addressing some of the difficult challenges he was having face on. Maybe that was leaving his wife before he got addicted to booze and drugs. Or maybe at the shit end of the story, it was always going to be like that. Divorces, by the very nature, are 2 people who've decided they don't want to be together anymore. And they don't decide that because they love each other and they make each other happy. They decide that because they're absolutely fed up to the back teeth of each other. So that part of divorce is always going to be tricky and murky. But the other part, which is what I was acknowledging these 3 men for, which is why I was suggesting I might make a trophy, is that they have, in the face of their ex cheating on them, unexpectedly dumping them and disappearing with the kids, demanding, I don't want to get too specific about situations, right? But these are men who fundamentally, however the relationship was going, weren't the ones that brought it to an end. And then they find themselves having to fight for their livelihood, for their home or their share of the home, for their time with their children. When they're already going through enough suffering, like the loss of a relationship, the loss of a marriage is difficult. Even if you're fed up to the back teeth of that person, accepting that you're letting go of that, coming face to face with the reality of that you're not going to see your children every day, it's brutal, but you can get through it. What's almost impossible, though, to cope with and manage is when you're trying to deal with that grief, because it is a grieving process. When you're trying to deal with that, you're also getting attacked to the degree that you're not going to have any money. You're not going to have a home. You're not going to spend time with your children. And you're having to go and research and find a solicitor or represent yourself, or whilst juggling work, whilst getting through it. It's brutal. And these three men, all three of them, are with a new partner. One's got married, which made me laugh. And I was like, seriously, dude, you've only just got divorced. But he is so happy. And his new wife is an upgrade. The other man, moving in with his new partner in December, happy, fun-loving, run together, cycle together. She is, his kids like her. Like it's a very happy. She's supportive of his business. It's a very positive situation. So to be celebrated and acknowledged. And the third couple bought a big house, living together, having joy, going on holidays, blending their families together. These are all to be celebrated. These are men who have put their lives back together, taken responsibility for their side of the situation and taken responsibility for who they are in relationships and gone out and found someone. But putting their life back together first, and then that person being the bonus on the top. So, is Ant McPartlin happy? He looks happy with his kids, with his dog, with his new wife. I don't know about the mistakes that he made in the past, but good luck to the guy. If he has managed to deal with his demons, I dare say that some of that collateral damage may well get repaired in due course. And who wouldn't want him to be happy? Who wouldn't want his ex to be happy? And I hope whatever she's up to with her makeup and pop singing and whatever else she's up to, that I hope she's happy and that they move on as well. That's the bottom line. Life is about chapters. And the ability to make your next chapter an improvement on the past is high value living. And I want that for everybody. Men around the world to step up, to have a clear vision and purpose in their life, to have the courage to address difficult topics and conversations and their own demons, to take responsibility and bring a better way of being to their everyday existence, so that the man that they're facing in the mirror, they absolutely love. So that the man that they are to the people closest to them is the man that they have been waiting for, is the man that they need, is the man that they respect and look up to. And in the wider sphere, the man that's contributing, the man that's creating jobs, the man that's being of value to his team, the man that's making money and making a difference in the world. To whatever degree that applies to you, we can all be making a difference. And when every single man, or as many men as possible, take that perspective, then I absolutely know that we will reduce the rate of divorce. We will reduce the male suicide rate. We will create better role models for our children who deeply need them right now in this mad state this world is in. And we will see men having the confidence to speak without instantly getting accused of being Andrew Tate or misogynist or patriarch. Because that isn't a healthy conversation. You can't just shoot everything down on the basis of a few men's behaviour. Because that as well is where you oppress men and you create a mental health epidemic, which more of you need to wake up to. Men across the board are, the stats prove it for yourself. If you go and follow the Tin Men, an incredible guy on Instagram who has a greater ability to pull together stats and present information in a sensible and digestible fashion, that we can truly work towards an equality, an equitable state, and where men and women can start to have a sensible conversation about how we create this world, this new world that we're living into. So, Good on Ant McPartlin. All his, whatever he's, his positives and his negatives. Good on to you, all your positives and negatives. If you're interested in creating the life that you deserve, to be the man that you want to be, then I invite you to come and get involved in the High Value Man Project. If you go to highvaluemanproject.com/group, you will get access to everything you need, all the complimentary resources and events. And of course, your invitation to the High Value Man Project and the Inner Circle, where we work together, where we go through the 3XC formula for living, where you adopt the fire code and the High Value Man lifestyle into your everyday life, and where you get to create the life that you deserve rather than the life you feel stuck in. It's been an absolute pleasure you hanging out with me today. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in to the Jonnie Jensen Show. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review and share it with fellow dads. Creating the life you deserve starts with you. Get your High Value Man blueprint and join our community of motivated modern dads at highvaluemanproject.com. Let's go.